Grūzīte. I'm Latvian and I'm a graphic designer. So my name is Karolien Buurman and I am actually not a graphic designer. I have a background actually in social psychology and in art. And yeah, we just ended up working together on NXS. So our third member is Florian Mecklenburg, and he's from Germany. And we also had another partner, Juliette Lizotte from France, and we all met in Sandberg Institute in some years ago. And around 2016-17, when we graduated, that's also when we decided to start to work together, and we had like these quite different practices, but also overlapping interests and topics that we were researching already back then. And we kind of just felt a connection and wanted to start to work together. Yeah. Well, actually, so we do not necessarily consider ourselves a studio because NXS, we see it more as an artistic research platform that gives us the free space to not just explore design. We bring in design, graphic design, to sort of glue a lot of different kinds of expressions together. But what NXS is really about is kind of creating a space for others to bring input to the table. And what maybe you should explain a little bit what NXS then researches, which is also what Monika talked about. Our mutual interest was really how the human identity is affected by digital technology. And that's what NXS wants to talk about and wants to explore. And it does so by actually collecting a lot of different expressions and opinions about this from people with various different backgrounds. So in that sense, we kind of design a space for other people to reflect upon this, but then we give them the space to do that. We do not constantly jump in, and then we bring in ourselves again with the graphic design part, wherein we give a final expression to this, like in a publication, exhibition, workshops. Well, just to continue on also what you were saying, we're interested also in this like methods of content creation and also to experiment with that and what could that be. And there's like a certain method that we use for the editorial process of the publication, but we expand that also to other mediums we've also made, as you mentioned, workshops or exhibitions, and that is like, but we see them as a ways of experiment with reflecting on these topics, but also like generating content and knowledge and so this space can take on different forms. For example, like the publications that we make are a very important part of what we do. They're also kind of they're kind of like the constant factor, the thing that everything evolves around. So every a year or half a year, it fluctuates. There's a new publication coming out, and we invite people then to reflect upon the theme of that specific publication. So that every issue, it always starts with actually more of a personal fascination or observation of maybe new technological development that seems quite urgent at that moment to reflect upon. And then we find people from all different backgrounds. They can be graphic designers, they can be artists, but we also like to invite people from outside of like the creative scene. So it can be like young bloggers, it can be we had like witches, priests, science fiction writers, Well, we can, we
dominatrix.
Yes, exactly. To then talk about this topic, because in the end, of course, we're talking about how technology affects us. We're not necessarily talking about technology. Everybody can talk about how technology affects our daily lives, our daily functioning, how it changes our perception of the world around us, or our relationships with others, our perception of ourselves. So we want to let people talk about that from a very personal perspective, but we also let them respond to another. So actually it's a very long editorial process in that sense, because we always have to wait for another contribution to come back in order to be able to forward it to the next one. But that's how we kind of connect different viewpoints also to another. And there's kind of like, although one way, a conversation between these different experiences and people and backgrounds.
And that kind of like sets apart, I think, maybe from other kind of editorial processes, that we are really discovering this topic together with the contributors, because we have because sometimes it also leads to places where we didn't anticipate to go, because we start with this fascination, we formulate this kind of the first proposal of the topic, and then we give it to the first contributors that come up with their perspective on it, and then it's forwarded to the next one that finds an inspiration, or maybe finds some kind of contradictions or something opposing to the previous one. It can be different ways. But yeah, this way kind of like the conversation grows from one contributor to another. So it's not like a collection of thoughts from different perspectives. It's really kind of growing together from one to another.
Yeah. So then in that sense also goes back to, what is this space? Like how you asked it was, so it's we kind of offer this, like the structure, the methodology, but then we do not really. It's a bit of a less traditional editorial process, because we ask people to talk about all these topics from the personal viewpoint, which is also, we're not kind of saying like, oh, you have this and this background, can you jump into this angle from, no, we really leave it open to the people how they want to address this. And of course, because they have to respond to another person, that also pulls it often in a new direction that we also have not anticipated on. So it's really, we create a structure, but then we step back. We let the process happen. And of course, when people want to have a bit more guidance or direction, they can have it, but we kind of want to leave it. We really want to let people do their thing. And then in the end, when we gather all the content, that's also only then we start with the graphic design, because we really see it as kind of like the binding tissue of all the elements that we've gathered, and the graphic design is then kind of like it's our response in a way to the contents.
This synthetic cells, so that's is something that came up in the issue 2. It's also called the synthetic cells, and it was in one of the conversations with Gert Lovink, I believe, that this kind of term also got formulated, and kind of that we kind of also wanted to like pinpoint what that means a little bit more and more. But in general, I would say also that we're trying to that we're trying to make all these reflections quite personal and like not too academic, but accessible conversations. So,
well, what I personally really like about synthetic cells as opposed to transhumanism is like posthumanism, transhumanism. It always kind of you always think that it's kind of like a different version of being human. And with synthetic cells, of course, it has the synthetic the more artificial part in it, but synthetic. Also, for me, means that we kind of have the power to shape ourselves. We can step in order to control it, and a self is an active thing. It's something we shape. It's something that we mold, and that is also shaped by our environments. So the synthetic can also imply the influences coming from outside. So I think synthetic cells is a little bit more of a poetic term that can maybe define more like sort of a mindset also that we're in a current age under the influence of technology. So it's at least a lot open for interpretation, but I think it is a really nice way to describe also the empowerment that also comes from it.
Yeah, and I guess also like it's questioning like, is our physical or kind of real life, so to say, real life selves, is it like the same as the ones that we're creating online? Like what kind of agency do we have on creating our identities both offline and online, and can we have multiple identities, and questions like that. So what is the kind of where is there some kind of friction between our physical identities versus the online identities? Yeah, Netherlands has, has this reputation for being like very experimental, also design-wise, and also very kind of like having a critical stance towards things that you're investigating. And I think for us, it's also, when we started it was important to kind of like pinpoint the things that are just happening around us on a daily basis, some kind of these like very maybe mundane daily experiences that we have this with the technology, but that we have not put into words, and we wanted, like, together with the people that we're inviting for the publication, to somehow put it either in words or images, but that is like something that's that we're all experiencing, that we're all feeling, that it's not also this kind of like just a critical reflection on technologies, it's also kind of looking at our as a kind of like human experiences with these technologies, and trying to kind of map it out, draw, or kind of understanding in our place and our experiences in some form.
Yeah, I guess in that sense, maybe it does connect also to designers, or also design education in the Netherlands, that is very much aimed also at just raising critical questions, and it's you see this trend more and more, that design is becoming much less about like finding answers and solutions, but also asking the right questions. So I do think in that sense, that's maybe also why you can become so quickly responsive to these kind of developments, because we don't need to form a whole theory and do a lot of wait until there's a lot of evidence or scientific research to say something about this topic. There is something, and we're like, hey, okay, but what does it mean? What does that do to us? And then we make a project about that, and so it can be quite quickly responsive to your direct surroundings. I guess, well, it's also not that far. I mean, especially like with the last publication, it is actually about fashion, the latest NXS publication, because we were very much intrigued by how the pandemic kind of forced our entire lives online, and that even the last bits that we thought, well, this you can only experience offline, and but then all of a sudden we were having these meetings, and we were buying virtual clothes, and the fashion industry also had to respond to this, like the physical fashion shows were not taking place, but also the whole physical production chain was affected, and so we felt that there was something there, and it was a bit difficult to pinpoint it. But then we thought that fashion would also be a very interesting sort of case study to look at, you know, the move into the metaverse, the sort of the future where we're heading now. This is uncharted territory, but wherein you know, Mark Zuckerberg introduced Meta like also a while ago, that you know that there are these big corporations trying to make money and like capitalize upon the ways that we want to express ourselves in these digital environments. So this issue is very much talking about this. So it's about the more emotional effects, like how can it become like a sort of a substitute or additional experience to what really was considered more a physical, tactile experience. But it's also talking about, yeah, capitalism. Do we own who owns our online identities, these new environments where we are presenting our avatars, etc. And we thought it would be really interesting to take fashion as a lens to look at these things, because fashion always has in certain moments in time, it's always kind of like fashion says a lot about people's class, professional background, age, role in society, etc., etc. So
fashion is a kind of medium of storytelling.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we also like see NXS as, okay, we have like the printed publication is our core, sort of, but we're also interested to express these, to continue this research in different mediums that we kind of always had like as an intricate part of the NXS, how it kind of functions. And like this time we collaborated with a fashion designer, Buurman, from Amsterdam. But we've also made like a short movie, like together with the whole team of other people. We also curated some exhibitions and did like other work that is directly connected to the printed publications, but is sort of extending this research beyond the printed format. And we also actually often get asked this question, like, why is it a printed publication when you're talking about digital subjects? But that was a very clear, conscious choice from the beginning, that we needed to kind of step out in a different medium to be able to reflect on this, on the internet and the technologies, and to have like a different pace and different, like a little bit of distance from the medium that we're talking about in a printed format, that you have like a bit of different relationship to the topic. So this kind of like jumping from mediums or being flexible in the expressions, I think, is also important for us to explore.
And this also again adds to the methodology of NXS, right? Wherein we always, you start with a text or a visual or a clothing piece, and then you respond to it. So in that sense, like the clothing pieces are a response to that, but then again there's other works that are responding to that, which also it allows us to draw in people from different backgrounds also, again, to reflect upon it. And we think it's also just really nice to explore all these different kind of mediums. Also from a personal perspective, it's really fun.